Okay guys, we're doing landscape, I guess. Like that. Like that is good. Oh my god, what the hell is going on? Oh, there's a delay, so I turned them on, and that's how long it takes. This is not a bad spot, but considering there's a giant snow mound right there, it's gonna be a little tight to get out. So I have to go into the other lane. It's my only opportunity right here. Mustang, calm down, Mustang, calm down, Mustang. Alright, let's not have
At
the
the
blades go
traffic
off
light,
again.
proceed straight onto US 6.
Alright, stability is achieving. No, what the? I'll take
In
care
a
of
quarter
myself.
mile merge onto the highway on your left.
You know what? It's gonna freeze. No problem. So let's get the water out of the way. Ugh, I see. This is why I didn't want to use it, because I knew that was gonna happen. It made it worse. And I got. Wow! 5 hours later.
Merge onto the highway on your left.
Wanted to put some music on, but it wasn't working. So I was like, you know what? I will take this opportunity.
Continue
to
for
record,
4 miles on
make some
184
content.
US 6.
So, there was a quote I remember just recently after I made that long spiel, and it said, anything worth doing is worth doing slow. So, I feel ready because now I've been accumulating, and now the desire is overcoming adversity to the point where I'm feeling it. It's just, there's a few weak moments. I'm getting there, and it's frustrating because, you know, like yesterday, I came home and I was ready to go do work, cut some wood, you know, real work, and I just was like, it was slow. You know, everything at the house was slow. It was slowing down. So for me to come in and start hacking away, make noise, it was going to disrupt the atmosphere. So that's also a huge avenue of understanding yourself, is you got to look at that. You got to look at your awareness level. And see, I have a lot of traffic on the right. I got to compensate for someone trying to merge out of their lane. So I'll let this go. See if he wants to go. Just, you know, there's no reason to force yourself right up to that guy. See, and he goes. I knew he was gonna stay, so he goes. And I let him. So that's the awareness you need in life. Is, are you doing right by everyone? Yeah, I'm going nowhere, but I'm still going somewhere. You see what I mean? I could ride this whole way out at 40 miles an hour, and then everyone will cut from the back of that line in front of me, and yeah, both of us will get somewhere. But is it really worth the cost to me for the benefit of others to let everyone pass me? No. So there's give and take days. There's give and take days. So once you acquire the awareness for it, you can really diversify yourself. And once you diversify yourself, you're going to start to build momentum very quickly in each of those little areas. And while it may seem nothing and pathetic, while someone goes to school and fundamentally finishes a degree and has a job, and then hasn't had a day break in 3 years since COVID. Because the guy is working 65 hours, but living in a $3 million home, driving a $200,000 Porsche. So he came out of college right into surgery, into being a doctor, whatever practice he's into. He's working at a hospital. And so at this point, you have to understand, like, how am I going to get out of here? This is so entertaining. This guy's just enjoying behind the truck. Like, that's his thing. Yo, that Honda's making more noise than anything. Damn, this wheel is cooked. Yo, what is this thing doing over here?
In 3/4 of a mile, keep right onto A84.
Wow, this van is pulling to the right so hard, it's unturning the left. So, you know,
In
I
half a
wasn't
mile,
trying to
keep
be
right
the
onto
aggressor,
A84.
but in that moment, there was no need for me to, like, move out of the lane. There was a lot of traffic because I was coming through that traffic, so I was letting the traffic diffuse. Damn.
Keep right onto A84. In 2
So,
miles, keep left to stay
what
on
I'm saying is,
I-84, Yankee
the
Expressway.
person didn't diversify himself. He just became a doctor, a surgeon. And well, with that came a lot of money. He wasn't very wise with the money, because if he realized how much he was earning, that he can afford to buy a very expensive house and a very expensive car, he could have also realized that he could live out of the said car, have a gym membership, and fund his own business while he's working. So that way, in 5-10 years, he can retire and not have to be a doctor and be slave to the hours of on call. You know, there's some people who enjoy that pressure. Like, they like that something else has authority over it. And most of the time, it's a female, which is respectful. Like, the female's supposed to run the household, but not at the dignity of the man. There was a TikTok video going on. I forget exactly what it was, and it was like,
In 1 mile,
was
keep
like,
left to stay on I-84.
like a man being backstabbed or something or whatever. And it's like how it feels to be a man in this world. It's like, no, it's not depressing. It's just that it's misunderstood. You know? So at this point, you have to really look at yourself and be like, okay, what's misunderstood
In half a
with me?
mile, keep left to stay on I-84.
Because everything starts with yourself. Starts with yourself, you know? Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna start with yourself. Because there's nothing else to start with. You're going to start with like a pile of sand outside. Like what? You're going to start with your own hands then. You're going to start with that pile of sand with your own hands then. So whatever you got to do starts with yourself. So if the
Keep left to
operator
stay on
is
I-84,
disabled, how do you
Yankee
expect the
Expressway.
machine to do the work? You might as well disable the machine because you're going to create more
Continue for
damage.
5 miles on
Imagine a
I-84,
guy
Yankee Expressway.
Going to do open heart surgery with a freaking excavator. You know, he just like woke up one day and he's like, that's it. I'm going to live my life out of an excavator. And he just shows up to work in an excavator. Right through the half building, right through. He just demolishes. I'm ready. There's some guys who can probably do surgery with an excavator. I've seen some people like lift a piece of paper off the ground with the claw of the excavator. So I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying your expectations are a little bit different when you have that reality going on. So there's no reason why people are complaining when they're half-assing everything. Including me. I'm half-assing everything as well. Taking so long to get this. I could have made this video 10 years ago, but you know, the confidence level wasn't there. I wasn't so sure that the world needed to hear these words, you know. But now as I finally finalize the view of this world and it's coming to a conclusion that everything's going to shit and we're batshit crazy and there's no way out and everything's going to get sucked in on itself, that we might as well succumb to the play and just play. Screw it, just play the game. Do it to get out of it. Do it so hard to get out of it. You know, if it's easier to buy breakfast at a McDonald's, just buy breakfast at a McDonald's. Make it worth your while. Don't waste that time. Go and scroll through stock tickers instead of Instagram while you're eating the food. Make it productive. You know what I mean? It's not poison unless you say it's poison in your mind. Food is food, water is water, drink is drink. Make it work for you. We all have the same basis. Yes, we don't have the same opportunities, but the internet has kind of leveled the playing field quite a bit. So there's room. There's a lot more room now than ever before. You know, it's so funny because I used to collect things, and sometimes it's very hard to collect your thoughts because I'm not a diary guy. So when I would find something interesting, I would take a picture of it, right? And then my Google storage got filled up. So I'm coming to this conclusion that, like, you know, I got to pay for this Google storage. So, you know, after a while, I ended up paying the $20 for the Google storage until I got to the point where I couldn't afford it, and it was just ridiculous because I got other expenses and I wanted to spend. But it doesn't matter. I don't have to explain myself. The point I'm saying is now we live in a world where you want to find the cooking recipe for your favorite chicken stir fry. You want to make classic lo mein. You want to make dumplings. You know, whatever you want to do. You want to make sushi. You can look it up online and get the recipe for the chicken marsala. You can get the recipe for the lasagna, the perfect garlic bread, whatever it is. It's online. You can go to the grocery store and make it that day. But back then in the 1960s, you didn't have that. Like, oh, let me go look it up. Where? You're gonna go to the library? They're gonna have Asian cuisine on deck for you? Maybe, maybe not. You know? But it wasn't as diversified. You know, maybe they did have Oriental Cooking 101, and it would have some dishes in there. But you would have to physically spend the time looking for that recipe. So we live in a form of expedited work. So right now we have an abundance
In 1 mile,
of
keep right to
information,
take the exit
so
68.
that this abundance is creating a faster streamline into anything, into thought, into production. Everything's at a convenience now, and we're completely disregarding the environment for this convenience. You know, Grubhub, all these takeouts are polluting instead of eating in. And we can thank COVID for that.
Feet, keep left.
So instead of like during COVID, instead of ensuring that, holy fuck. So, ensuring that during COVID,
Keep right to
when
take the
people were
exit
taking
68.
food and buying
Within
it,
500 feet,
and
keep
people were
left.
giving it out, they could have implemented a law that all the
In
incoming
500
orders
feet,
are
keep
going
left
to
until
be
684
served in
south towards
biodegradable
White
containers
Plains.
and silverware, so that way if it ends up in a landfill, it'll
In
disintegrate.
3/4 of a mile, merge onto the highway on
I've
your
used
left.
paper forks, I've used paper knives, yeah, and they're interesting. They can do the job. I wouldn't rely on them. But there's also, I used to play airsoft and we used to have biodegradable BBs. And those things wouldn't break. So you can imagine making a biodegradable fork out of that plastic, but then it'd be pretty expensive because that plastic's expensive. So now biodegradable plastic is more expensive than regular plastic. So now we have a problem, conflict of interest. So profits over environmental protection is the interest of everyone. And so like people like Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, and let's throw Jeff Bezos or Jeff Bezos over there in that same group, right? He could have easily made his Amazon boxes contain seeds where if it did end up in the trash or somewhere like in the woods, because I'm seeing a lot of on the side of the
Merge
highway,
onto the highway
it would
on your
grow a
left.
tree. Now it might be useless because then it would start growing trees and polluted it in like, imagine a city street and the cardboard box, a little corner of it ends up in there and it starts growing a tree right in the middle of the sidewalk. Yeah, obviously that's not a good idea. You know what, they're going to be suing Amazon now because it's littering their sidewalk streets with trees. Wouldn't be a bad thing, but I mean, listen, we're trying to reduce our carbon emissions somehow. And then he talks about his Blue Origin like it's a holy sacred child. Oh, well, if you don't do it for the money, you do it for every little detail that only you would know. And that process is slow. I think that was his response to someone questioning him about his how Elon Musk has secured more contracts and is actually progressing forward. And he talks about, well, we're a little bit more focused on not making any mistakes. And then I'm thinking about it like, yeah, Elon Musk built a lot of rockets that just, poof. But he was more after progression. So if you didn't have a mistake, you can't grow. So if you never made a mistake in your life, you haven't grown. You need to learn from your mistakes. You need to move on and do it differently than the first time. So when people fail at a competition, Winter Olympics is here, they're not gonna sit on the couch and be like, and then next year, the next 4 years, and they're like, okay, competing. They work harder, they train more, they get up earlier, they squeeze in more routines in the week. They go to specialized coaches. They go to talk with, motivational mental conditioners. So you gotta understand, like, people always try harder in sports. And there are people like that in every aptitude of our world. There's people like that as doctors. They try to be a better doctor with the next patient than they were with the first. Whether it be a surgeon, a therapist, or whatever. Oh, I cauterized the artery a little too close or too far. I could have saved some, whatever it is. You know what I mean? He could do always something better. And when we are challenged, that's when we are really living. When you're testing that basic instincts with yourself, with the human body, and you're challenging your human body into focusing, into being precise, calculating an outcome, figuring things out, being precise with your hands, getting that sculpture done, getting that bolt in that tight spot in, being a dentist, having to drill out that cavity in the back molar. When you're asking precision out of yourself, every single area you're focusing in some direction, and we're all hopped up on these energy drinks and coffee and all this, and no one really realizes that actually less would give you more. It's just so hard to give up that first. Imagine having to give up food for a few days just so you can be more clear-minded at work. So, you know, you have to be aptitude ready for it. You can't just be like, oh, okay, I'm just not gonna eat for the next 3 days. Well, if you haven't been eating well first, you're gonna have a problem because your body's already at a starving mode. So you have to get plumped up. You know, I don't mean get fat and obese. I'm just saying you have to be adequate enough that you're intaking enough calories on a daily basis that for the next few weeks you're gonna be okay. And then, you know, it's like it's like what you call it. It's like in bodybuilding. You know, like you have bulk days where you bulk up on calories, junk food sometimes, and then you have the, you know, release days where you freaking go to the gym and excruciatingly like exhaust yourself to the point where you're like a puddle. But you have to reach those states in order to progress forward, so your body knows, okay, it's recovery. If it's gonna be like what you call it, like, you know, like working out, we're working out. So enough time, you will condition your body, and that's all that going to the gym is. You're just conditioning it. Yes, you're building more muscle, but usually strength is so different than bodybuilding that to gain strength, you're actually generating more force out of the muscle rather than creating more muscle. Like, you do gain a muscle mass, but look at Anatoly. He's very strong, and people with twice his arm size can't pick up and hold his mop straight out. So you think about if that guy that's that bulky was just worked out to the point where he was as big, like if Anatoly worked out to the point where he was as big as somebody, he'd probably be able to crush the damn mop in his hands, because that amount of muscle is insane. So it's a different category for training body mass and muscle strength. I don't even know the physics of it behind it, but it's very, very two different sciences. It's like, one is like, okay, we're gonna build an airplane, and then the other one is like, okay, we're gonna build a rocket to go to Mars or freaking the moon. Two different stratospheres. Both are in the same field of aviation, you know, but two very different mediums, so to say. So you can apply that analogy with anything then. You know, you can, you know, bad cop, good cop, yin and yang, it's always a battle. So if you really look at it, this world is not really anything but a heaven and or hell. Because there's like no reason why we're waiting to go to heaven to do what? We're waiting to be good until we get to heaven? If we just start being good now, we might have a heaven here. If companies didn't go out of their way to extort what they can create for profit, instead of creating a fully fully integrated service or product, right? Imagine if something was truly wholesome where it actually belonged on Earth. Like something organic as a tree. Like got roots, you know? Got roots. Like pride and patriotism in America to the flag. And now we have, you know, anti-Semitism campaigns run by governors of Florida or some bullshit. So we're living in a very dramatic change, and it's happening quickly because now that it's been exposed, they're accelerating the process in order to contain that exposure and infiltrate the society into a new a government official questioning you about why you posted some anti-Semitic bullshit on the internet. I mean, like, yeah, it violates the First Amendment 100%, but are you freaking kidding me? With our taxpayers' dollars, we're monitoring free speech. For what? For
In
what
1 mile,
purpose?
keep right to take the
How
exit 6
dangerous
from
are these
Y35.
words that we're killing, what's that kid's name? They shot that kid up. Kirk. I don't want to insult his first name. So, you know, it's fucked up. I'm not gonna lie. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. Because the reality is that's how dangerous they are.
In half a mile, keep right to take the exit 6 from
That is how dangerous
Y35.
they are. They are so afraid of. It's like Marx is going around during the Red Scare, you know, and talking about communism. That's how crazy it is. We're back there.
Keep right to take the exit
Except
6 from
communism is
Y35.
anti-Semitism now. In the same equilibrium. It's taboo. It's taboo. God forbid you talk
At the
about
traffic
communism.
lights, turn right
during
onto
World
Cross
War II
River
or
Road,
some
New York
bullshit.
35.
So now we're in the same category. God forbid you talk about some anti-Semitism. And the truth is slowly leaking out that now some Jewish guy or group owned TikTok and they completely re-infiltrated TikTok to the point where people had no idea what the hell was going on. And now that they have complete control over it, they want to revamp it with a camouflage of, oh, you could get gifts now for your posts, and you don't need to go do live anymore. So before you were only gonna get gifts for your lives, now you can get gifts for your posts. So no one's gonna question anything because, oh, it's better. Thank God Americans got it, because it's not Americans. First of all, no American owns it. So we lost it. We lost it. That's the actual thing. We lost the freedom that it had. While China, yes, was tracking all our stuff, while China was tracking all that stuff,
Continue for 6 miles on Cross River Road,
they
New
were
York
tracking for
35.
more sales and views and all that stuff. While now TikTok's gonna track everything for the sole purpose of spying and monitoring and censorship. You know, before things weren't tracked on TikTok the way they're being tracked now. So if someone's going to expose something, it's going to be notified. And now we have AI, which apparently AI has been around since the 1960s, or whatever the hell they had AI back then. I don't even know anymore, because I'm hearing all this stuff and it's getting wild. Dude, the stories are getting wild. And I get it, because I thought to myself too, you know, I could just create random stories and it just could take off. But then I'd be doing a disservice. Not everyone deserves to be, you know, lied to and wasted time about some bullshit that doesn't mean anything because it was a funny and entertaining story. Like when I was listening to the Pocket FM and that Dragon Boy was doing the stupid thing about whatever they're doing, and he got to the point where I'm going to close it up. You know, I forgot I left that story open. And what he did was he had these two beats that actually came to him. So when they came to him, he, you know, was affectionate towards them because, you know, he didn't have anything before. You know, these are his first time pets, and at the same time they're his beasts. So moving forward with that, he got to the point where he was just like, you know, I respect you guys. I love you guys. So when it comes to the point where that princess comes over and she was like, YOLO, YOLO, right, so speed limit's 45. All right. So what I'm trying to get at is he created a bond with these animals, and then what happened was this, visitor that was the princess of the family, of the royal family, came with her beast, and then she was like, "Oh my heavens!" Everyone's like, "Oh my God, her legendary bear," and all this, and she got to the point where she's like, "I'm gonna give away my bear to the person with the weakest beasts." And then so obviously the whole school looked at this kid that's like had these spider and this dragon phoenix thing, and they're like, "Oh, Loki, so not fair," you know what I mean? And because he's pretty much gonna get this beast at like for nothing, and it's gonna be like 3 times as good as anyone else. So yeah, I'd be jealous too, right? But then she goes, "Okay, you have to trade one of your beasts for, you have to give me one of your beasts." Like, so it was a trade, and he didn't realize that. So he got like, "No, it's okay. I cannot, or I won't, I don't accept," or whatever. Everyone was shocked. But he thought it over in his mind, because you could read it, they were, discussing his thoughts about it. And he said that he was, he couldn't succumb to the thought of giving one over the other for the bear, because they chose him, and for him to just discard, which is a standard practice at the academy, where a lot of kids would sacrifice one beast for a better one and whatnot in battle too, because he talks about it when he was battling the next one. And so what happened was that he was like, "No, I don't accept." And then the kid that was like, had the fanciest beast already, he comes up, "If you doesn't want it, I'll take it." And then she's like, "Okay, fine, here you go," and she lets him have it without a trade. So I'm like dumbfounded. So why does he not have to trade, but this guy had to trade? So it was just very frustrating, But I continued because I was driving. I didn't have time to fast forward through it. So we got to the point where we had to, we're in the midst of this advertisement dialogue, and here I'm talking about how he's attached to these pets that he won't even give one of them up for a much better one. So imagine like a level 1 Pokemon, and then you get a Mewtwo, and he's like, "Nah, I'm okay. I'm good. I feel bad giving one of the other ones." And like you have like maybe like the Pokemons from Rocket, from Rocket League. That's so funny. So that Stink Bomb and the Geodude. So I know my stuff. But then he comes to the point where the class master, whatever the training person was, so disappointed, and she felt like he disrespected the school for not taking the beasts, that she barred him from going into the competition that was happening literally that week, or the next day, or literally tomorrow. So he was so distraught that when literally from Harry Potter's Goblet of Fire, right? They're putting their names on it into this enchanted thing, and it's like a goblet, and it's got like blue flames in it. It's so funny. And he wrote his name in the parchment, and he thought about putting it in, that he didn't put it in, because he's like, "No, if I get pulled and I lose, then I will be insulting the whole school, so I can't do it." So then he just canceled it out. So I don't know what he did with the paper, put it in his pocket, dropped it, threw it out in the garbage can that was right next to it. I don't know. So I'm telling you a little extra because, it's important. So then what happens is they're all at the festival, and he's watching it as an audience, and he gets caught up with some stupid stuff, and he ends up going into the dungeon where they keep all the beasts, and then he gets to the point where he gets pushed out, and then all of a sudden they're reading out the names of the people for the contestant, and he goes like obviously the person first is that prince with the extremely mythical dragon, so black onyx dragon, whatever you want to call it. So he's paying attention who's going to face him, one of the students from what school, whatever, I don't know how many schools were, and they call, and it's him, Marcus something, and he was so dumbfounded, but they, it was an enchanted ritual. So what happened was that he got caught up in it, and he couldn't unbind himself from it because he was compelled to walk into the arena and battle. Obviously, his two pets were summoned, and so the whole school, everything was in awe. Everyone was like, what? Astonishment. Pretty much the whole thing was in astonishment. And when it got to the point where they did the battle, the kid was smirkish, funny. He put his dragon on display, making her bat her wings to brush his hair away from his face or something stupid. Showing complete obedience of this extremely dangerous and mythical dragon. Okay, still a dragon. No matter how sugar-coated you want it. And they do the battle, and the phoenix flies around. It almost gets breathed on fire. Its feathers get singed. He has this special ability to shoot some of the feathers. They're razor sharp, and they realize that it's able to cut the dragon's hide. And even though the hide is tough and thick, it was able to cut through it. So what happened was, I was thinking of letting that guy go, but I got too much traffic anyway. He's gonna have to wait. He's still at his house, so too bad. So it got to the point where he released his spider onto the thing,
make a slight right turn
and
onto
at one
Howard
moment
Road.
the spider was in such good play that there was an opening shot at maybe doing so much damage to get enough points to win that the razor blade feather attack could do it. And so in a normal practice, the person would call it out and let it happen, even though he saw ahead. His awareness showed him that his little pet spider might be in trouble and might get crushed. So if he takes this opportunity to do this attack, he's going to lose his friend, most likely, 90% chance. Yeah, there's a risk he might not get killed, but there was just too much at play because it was a life. You don't even want to take 1% chance at a life. And some of these people who climb Mount Everest or skydive, whatever you want to do, they take way too many chances. They take way too many chances. See, look. I have to wait for this bus because this bus is so wide. Okay. Probably shouldn't have went this way, but GPS said I could. This is a local road to me, so I felt like we could squeeze through here. So he stepped onto the arena and he said no when the Dragon Phoenix was about to line up the shot, and they talk telepathically, so he was able to communicate everything telepathically. And I mean, at that point you're one mind, so what you see is they see, and they can see and sense everything. So both the spider probably knew, and the Dragon Phoenix probably knew that they're going to sacrifice the spider, and the spider's probably willing to take that 10% survival risk, and the spider didn't want to complain, but they were going to do it for him because they love him. And so because of that love, and he saw the vulnerability in them, and they were willing to do whatever he asked of them, he couldn't follow through with it because it wasn't worth this stupid competition. It wasn't a life or death situation, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure to save the Dragon Phoenix life and his own life, he probably,
turn right
and the spider would probably sacrifice his own life. But that's not the situation. They were in a competition, it was supposed to be friendly, no death, right? But it's not like these people cared if the animals died or not. This is a mythical dragon that can kill anything in its sight. So, oops, it stepped on something. Okay, no worries. What, we're gonna put the prince in jail? No, it can't happen. So when he stepped onto the battlefield, it was like a huge huge, like, you know, because now he became part of the arena too, and he was out for grabs. So his life was in jeopardy at this point. And the prince commanded the dragon fire breath, and then, you know, it was like nothing happened. And he's like, I command you, fire breath them to death, like kill them, burn them, and, you know, like a whining kid. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, everyone heard it. So the dragon telepathically communicated no to everyone. And then again, I command you, I'm your master, no, go breathe fire on them. And then it goes even louder, like, no, I shall not. You are not my master. I am your master. I am done with like these foolish games. I am not your, you know what I mean? So it pretty much talked back to it, and then blew its wing, and then he like flew across like 50 feet. So no one could like challenge that, right? So then the king, stupid guy. So then the king comes up to the podium and he asks, well, who is your master? And then she goes, I choose a new master. And then she goes over to the guy, I choose Marcus, blah, blah, blah. And then the people go in like crazy, like, what's going on? And the point was that he had so much compassion. He was pure of heart. And so the dragon gave itself up
Go past this traffic
to his
light and at the
command
next
because
one. Turn right
it
onto
saw him
Spangers
worthy
Street.
of
Then
her
go past
power.
this stop sign
The
and
same
at the
way
next
a woman
one.
sees
Turn
the
left.
potential in a man and wants to be with him. So there you go, guys. Just because you're good and you're giving up your driving space for other people doesn't mean you're not gonna get to where you're going. Life has a funny way of rewarding you with things. Because at that point, he could have been competing for the next, I mean, he could literally take over the kingdom at that point with that one dragon alone. Like, even with an army of beasts, like, you
At the
can't take
traffic
on
light,
that dragon.
Turn right onto
Like, you would have to
Spangers
be like
Street.
really
Then in 400
out of
feet,
your
turn
way, or
left.
really a masterful warfighter to, I know, obviously at that point, you know, the king was right there, so you could have easily killed the king with that dragon.
In 400
And the dragon
feet,
probably
turn
would have
left
done it
onto
easily
Roxley Road.
out of spite for what the betrayal that it faced. So it's ironic, you know,
At the
closed
stop
loop.
sign, turn left onto
So
Roxley
we have to
Road.
understand, like, you know, we don't see the fourth or fifth dimensions, but our actions have such a huge vibration in those areas that we actually create more ripples the higher dimensional
In 400 feet,
level
turn
we
right to
go
enter a private road.
on with our very three-dimensional actions, especially with our two-dimensional thoughts. So you see how quickly a two-dimensional thought can
Turn right to enter a
generate
private road.
a five-dimensional ruckus. So now I gotta go over here
In
while they're all
300
picking
feet,
up their
turn
kids.
left.
How's it going? Excellent. Okay, when I go to the Jehovah Witnesses, they ask me what I'm doing, even though the freaking truck is labeled.
In 100 feet, arrive at the destination on your right, near Hansick Elementary School.
So
Arrive at
guys,
the
this is it for
destination on
today.
your right,
We got a
near
45-minute
Hansick
spiel out.
Elementary School.
But, you know, it was a closed loop. I'm happy to complete this documentary, Day in the Life. All right, and ta-da for now.